You see, there's the maze.
Uh-huh.
All right. You see the little things inside the maze?
The dots.
That's right! The dots! Iggy, you were born to play Pac-Man!
She take my money, when I'm in need. Yeah, she's a trifling friend indeed. Oh, she's a gold digger, way over town.
Yes, I'm up. Keep you company. Why?
Oh, she's a gold.
Soon as I met her, I knew that she'd be a handful. Not in the good way, the kind you can't fool.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to What the Hell Happened to Them? Jack Attacks the Cast. That's right, this season, Jack Nicholson. I am your host, Patrick Skeyhill, and joining me on the line is a man who likes to can apricots, Joe Vekeman.
Can them and eat them.
And then eat them. And of course, on the audio boards is Ven Rensselaer reminding me to remind you that you can email the cast at whathappenedtothemcast@gmail.com. And our sponsor this week is Beijing Hot Air Balloon Tours, now available in the U.S. Hold on. Lev is sending me a new copy. All right, sorry. That was a limited time offer, I guess. No longer in the U.S., but Beijing Hot Air Balloon Tours. Ride them around and don't look down, I guess. All right, Joe, what movie are we doing this week?
We watched Jack Nicholson's 1978 directorial feature, Goin South.
Yeah, God help you if you type in Going South when looking for this movie.
Oh, don't do that.
Don't do that. Goin South. Apostrophe
Goin South.
instead of the G. Pseudo contraction. Joe, what happens in Goin South?
Texas, shortly after the Civil War, Henry Moon is an outlaw on the run from the law.
That old chestnut, eh?
Yeah. He is captured trying to escape to Mexico and taken back to town to be hung. The town has hanged.
It's only hung if it's not referring to this one specific act. Weird quirk of English, I know.
I'm going to blame Grant's for this summary.
Why are you blaming? How did Grant get involved in here? Is he?
No,
is he
I don't know.
summaries?
I jumped on it because it had Grant's, and I was like, oh, maybe he's trying to do something, but I don't think this is him. Let's see here. The town has a special law that a condemned man can walk free if one of the single women of the town offer to marry him. Henry is in luck. At the last moment, Julia Tate offers to marry him, and pretty soon they are married. This is terribly written. It's like a second grader wrote this.
Reminds me of the script of this movie.
God. However, Henry soon discovers that Julia's motives are purely business-oriented. She needs someone to work the mine on her property. This makes for a very cold marriage. Thank you, Grants, with 2 S's.
What? The guy getting married just to stay alive is a little sad that his wife isn't into him? What?
Yeah.
But you know what? It is a movie that asks a tough question. What if The Ridiculous Six were watchable?
This asks the question. I don't have a question.
Here's the question this asks. Why did Jack Nicholson follow up Drive, he said, with this movie?
I think he wanted to make another Western after he had a hard time on The Fortune. No, not The Fortune. What's that brand of Missouri Breaks?
He was like, I know I can make a good Western. To which I said, you did. It was the shooting. You made it. You did it.
Yeah, that was like 10 years ago at that point, though.
Jeez. What a ride we've been on.
That was like last year.
Oh, so good,
like last summer.
I was like, oh, another Western where Jack Nicholson starts off as an outlaw only to learn the values of proper American society. I feel like he's done this a million times. Even those motorcycle films, they're kind of Westerns.
I'm going to take a look now. I think this might be his last Western.
No spoilers. I'm like, we're doing this again, I see. But of course we are. You know why? Because it's pre-1993. Westerns are everywhere. It's basically a superhero film. Did he write? But he didn't write this script. This movie looked like it had 80 writers on it.
It did. It had. I'll say the one that I think is crazy at the end. John Herman Shaner. Never heard of him. Doesn't have any page to go check out his stuff.
Yeah.
Al Ramrus. Same thing. Alan Mandel, same thing. And then the last one on the list, Charles Shire. Oh, we've got Charles Shire back in the fold from I Love Trouble times for us.
Okay, so he's working up to I Love Trouble.
Yeah, sure.
Another movie about a romance that just doesn't land.
Well, you know what? Jack was probably like, let's get this guy on our writing staff because he just was nominated for the Golden... Wait. Never mind.
Yeah, we don't care about Golden Globes here.
Yeah, exactly. You were just on the board for a year, right?
Yeah. I wasn't on the board. I was in the Hollywood Foreign Press. It's very different.
He wrote Smokey and the Bandit. That's a pretty big movie.
Yeah, it was a big movie. Kind of a Western as well.
He wrote House Calls. Have you heard of that?
Nope.
Ooh. Walter Matthau. Glenda Jackson. My friend, we might be visiting Charles Shire again later on.
Uh-oh.
One of our other series that we have planned, and he's our writer on one of those.
Hooray.
Very exciting. Anyways, Charles Shire, great to see him back. What a cast we have here, right?
You do have a good cast.
Introducing Mary Steenbergen.
Yes, Ted Danson's future wife. And also Richard Nixon's mother. In the movie Nixon, not in real life.
Yeah, she was just about to get married to Malcolm McDowell, though.
That is an interesting choice.
10 years of a marriage. Woof. It's a long time to be like, this isn't working.
Famously pleasant person, Malcolm McDowell.
The box office on this one.
Well, what's the budget first?
I don't have a budget.
You don't have a budget? Well, that's not a good sign.
I mean, $7 million, nothing really to write home about.
$7 million is the box office?
That's the box office, $7 million.
Oh, so just no one saw this movie.
No one saw this movie.
You have Jack Nicholson, Academy Award-winning actor.
Newly minted star John Belushi from the same year he had Animal House.
But did this come before or after Animal House?
I'm pretty sure this came after, because this comes in October.
Okay. Yeah, you'd certainly have him, a very pre-dead John Belushi. You'd have him all over your marketing campaign.
It's like 3 months before Animal House. So Animal House is very much like the talk of everything, right?
It's 2 months before Animal House? I don't know.
It's 3 months before. No, 3 months. Animal House is 3 months before.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Movie's huge.
Everyone's wondering, hey, is Jim Belushi going to be a big guy?
Yes. I hope Jim Belushi gets a TV show someday. I will watch that to death.
Oh, very nice.
But you know what? I guess people did, because the show was on for like 7 years.
Christopher Lloyd as...
Christopher Lloyd, very highly billed. Was hoping he'd be in the movie more.
Deputy Towfield.
Deputy Dog.
No, Towfield. This movie is mostly just Jack and Mary.
It's a lot of Jack and Mary.
Marriage woes.
It's just like, well, Danny DeVito's like buried in the credits, and it feels like he's in it as much as Lloyd. But I guess when Lloyd's in it, it's really Lloyd and Jack. When Danny DeVito's in it, it's like Jack, Danny DeVito, plus the whole posse. Including Jack's former love interest, who looks like Harpo Marx. I wonder if that was, Jack, a directing choice for him to show off his movie knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. John Belushi is fourth billed in this movie, though. That's definitely Animal House.
Yes, because he has 3 lines.
Yeah, they're unintelligible.
Pretty racist lines.
Yeah. I want to talk about Jack's hair in this movie because it's crazy.
Long, beautiful hair, shining, gleaming, steaming, flash of acid. Give me down to there, shoulder length longer. Here, baby, there, mama, everywhere, daddy, hair.
He's got the big beard too.
Yeah, big beard. He's showing some gray now. Got a little bit of gray in his beard. Do you know how old he is in this movie?
Well, I keep waiting to see the results of these hair plugs, and they just don't seem to be coming in. I don't know why he took the time off from Cuckoo's Nest to get them, apparently.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, do you think now that Jack's directing, he's like, hey, listen, get me those guys from Cuckoo's Nest. They'd be great in this film.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
He's like, these are my buds. I hung out with these guys all the time.
Only these 2, though. None of the others. I mean, I guess
Well, one of them is dead.
One of
If you
them's
remember,
dead.
yeah. One of the guys that's like the big talker in the group died. The other one is like a new actor. I can't remember his name though.
I forget his. I
he's
don't
a
remember his
dead one.
character's name. I don't remember the actor's
Yeah,
name.
yeah. Anyways, but yeah, so Jack's hair's crazy in this. He's got the little bit on top that's just kind of hanging on for dear life.
It's all right, Jack. You won your Academy Award. You're fine. It's not like you're a woman, Jack. You're still gonna get roles. It's okay.
Yeah, it sometimes it works fucking better for him because you're like, wow, look at this. Like he looks all scuzzy now.
Yeah.
Cool.
He's doing a weird voice.
Yeah, he is doing a weird voice.
Or maybe this will be
Jack
one of the
Nicholson's-
IMDb trivias. Fun fact: Jack Nicholson had a cold the entire time shooting this film.
He was the director. Maybe he should have been like, oh, we'll just push it back.
He's overloading himself, so yeah, he's just sick all the time.
It's not like he's doing anything else at this time either.
No, this is his passion project. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, and he's just like, well, I'm going to hang out with Kubrick for 2 years after this. So,
It is a very Jack Nicholson-y role. I get why he takes the role. I'm just surprised the script he thought, I want to direct this. It's just very different than what he had shown to be his previous interest.
I agree. Jack Nicholson once said jokingly of this movie, "The director of this film is one selfish, demanding egomaniac, and the leading man isn't much better. All he wants to do is lie down in front of an air conditioner the whole day." Jack Nicholson personally selected movie newcomer Mary Steenbergen for Goin South, according to allmovie.com.
Did he choose her over Susan Sarandon?
Jesus Christ, that's just rude at this point. Steenbergen was sitting in the casting office waiting room when Nicholson first encountered her. He noticed she didn't have a reading script, gave her one with the 3 scenes marked off, and arranged to read with her the following day. That reading session ended up going for around 2 hours. Oh, so they had good chemistry? Did they? Do they?
So why? She was just hanging out there? She's like,
Yeah,
sorry, I thought I was
chilling.
in line for a burger. Like, why was she there?
I'm sure she was probably like reading like extra role, like a role for an extra.
Okay. You know, I hear this story, and maybe some people go, oh, how nice. Good for Mary Steenburgen. You know, my initial cynical thought is, you horny motherfucker, Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, to no surprise for us, at least after watching it, the picture was a critical and commercial failure.
You know, it's unfortunate, because the movie did have promise at the beginning. You're like, what a kooky premise this is, and Jack Nicholson's being very Jack Nicholson-y. The opening credit sequence I actually liked. I thought it was kind of smart.
Oh, yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Right? Even just like this opening shot, like we see Jack Nicholson kind of having trouble with his horse. Seems to look back. He's kind of snarky. Then he kind of freaks out. He runs away. We're like, what? Credits come on over that image. And then the credits are done. And now the rest of the posse comes in. I go, that's smart. And he does this smart shot where after that chase sequence, we're like in a very tight close-up of him at the jail cell. And we just kind of follow him around. And I go, okay, this is some Jack Nicholson, French New Wave stuff going on. And then mostly the rest of the movie happens. And it's not directed badly. It's just, I don't know, it flows easy. It doesn't flow lazily, but it doesn't.
No.
It's not really interesting other than the swing seat shot where he seems to have mounted the camera on the swing itself as this turbacious foreplay is happening between Jack and Mary.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's just kind of like a regular movie. And so why, I'm like,
It is a regular movie.
Why did you pick this, Jack? You did Drive, he said. Like, you did a daring movie. Why are you doing this now? You could do anything. You have the blank check, as Joe likes to say.
I know what he chose this because he saw the Paramount logo, and then he was like, I know how I can turn this into a big hill that I'm going to ride past. And he does it, and it's great. He turns the logo into...
He said, perfect. I'm going to look like a genius.
It worked for me. I was like, I'm in. And then I was like,
And you're like,
20 minutes in,
yeah,
like,
just
I'm
like
out.
last week. I'm like, great start. And then immediately I go, come on, what are we're still going?
All right. John Belushi allegedly once said about working with Jack Nicholson on this picture. Jack treated me like shit on Goin South. I hate him.
What did Jack do?
I don't know.
John, you got to go into a little more detail.
Wow, it happens again. It strikes again. Paramount Pictures originally intended for Elliot Gould and Candice Bergen to star in this film with Mike Nichols directing the picture. How many times is Mike Nichols supposed to take over or direct a Jack Nicholson picture?
They're like, you know what? Why don't you take a little break after the fortune, Mike Nichols? You need a little recuperating.
Here we go. Jack Nicholson originally wanted to direct and star in a traditional Western movie called Moontrap. The only studio to offer him a deal was United Artists, which volunteered $2 to $3 million, but only if Nicholson would also be in the film. But Nicholson didn't want to star in the movie. Nicholson insisted the picture was logistically too ambitious for him to divide his attention between acting and directing. His acting fee was over $1 million per picture. He volunteered to play Webb the grizzled old goat and to cover himself in gray hair with a matted beard. Over time, George C. Scott, Lee Marvin, Marlon Brando, Jon Voight, and Dennis Hopper were approached to play Webb. The movie had a screenplay by Alan Sharp, so in the end, Nicholson dropped the project and turned his attention instead to this movie. Nicholson once said, "But I didn't want it to be 10 years before I directed again. It had been 7 years since Nicholson had directed his last picture," Driven said. "I also had another acting job for Stanley Kubrick in The Shining coming up, so Nicholson decided to star and direct this movie." Wow, there we go. That's why this happened.
Oh, that makes sense then. Yeah, so what you have is a guy, not that Drive, he said, was very successful, but pretty good movie, directing-wise at least. But, other people said, well, we know you're a star, but your last movie didn't do great, so no. He's like, I want to do the kooky, weird art movie. And they went, you got to be in it so that people will come and see it because people want to see you. They don't want to see your movie. And smartly, he said, all right, I can't do both. Which he didn't do in Drive, he said. He just did the directing. So it does all make sense. So I'll do an easy one. This movie will do well. Then you'll let me direct my weird, ambitious film. And then this movie didn't do well, and, the rest is history.
There was regular on-set conflict between John Belushi and Jack Nicholson and the film's producers. Belushi allegedly made several demands on the production. The book, Jack's Life, a biography of Jack Nicholson. So this is mostly a Jack Nicholson biography, stating this. So Belushi was one jarring note in the proceedings. Jack wanted to like the comedian whose popularity was soaring. Belushi blustered and posed, but he was fundamentally sweet, the kind of guy Nicholson liked to take under his wing. However, Belushi had a short fuse. He made petty demands and fought with the producers, especially Harold Schneider, whose job it was to not lose fights. Belushi became progressively more sulky as filming dragged on, and partly in response to his behavior, his role seemed to shrink. Wow.
Does feel a bit biased, but yeah.
Well, maybe. It is very biased, but if it's true, it's like, yeah.
Well, it's like it's overly set up. Like, oh, Jack Nicholson wanted to take him under his wing, and Jack Nicholson only wanted the best for John Belushi, and John Belushi was kind of a jerk. You could just be like, hey, John Belushi, was starting to get big and it went to his head a bit. That was all you needed. I didn't need this whole Swans, this soppy tune of Jack Nicholson being like, I just wanted to be his friend.
That's very true. Yeah, he was only alive for 4 more years after this.
I didn't know it was that long. It just felt like it was immediately afterwards.
Let's see. After this, he made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more movies.
All Animal House films.
No, none of them are. He made his next one was Old Boyfriends, which not one of the famous ones. And he's also he's lower on the building. Then he's in Spielberg's 1941, which I saw last year, which is not good. The Blues Brothers.
Yep, makes sense.
Never seen it. Continental Divide, where he stars with Blair Brown.
It sounds like a sort of like a high-class, high-brow drama.
It's Michael Apted, directed, Lawrence Kasdan written. And then Neighbors with Aykroyd. Yeah, so I liked Mary Steenbergen in this. I just didn't care for the movie too much.
Yeah, I think unlike last week's, it's not fully a chemistry issue with the actors. I think the script underbakes this romance.
Oh, yeah.
I think just suddenly we've gotten to a next romance plot point with very little motivation or reason. And a comment that I've said a surprising amount of times this season, the love interest for Jack Nicholson just suddenly loves Jack Nicholson for little or no reason, especially since they usually begin hating Jack Nicholson. So I'm often very confused at the abrupt shift. I don't know. Again, it felt like there could have been something here, and you had all these little plot things, right? Like Christopher Lloyd seems to also want to get with Mary Steenbergen and is mad at this criminal for getting her instead. That goes nowhere.
Yeah.
It's a very, very, almost annoyingly big setup that Christopher Lloyd wants to date Mary Steenbergen. Nothing comes of it for the next hour and 40 minutes. Not a thing.
The entire runtime.
The legitimate full movie, gone. They did pay off the former bandit gang thing a bit, but kind of, I don't even know how, there's a kind of a twisty thing that happens at the end between Jack and Mary. I don't know how that is even possible to have happened.
Do you remember when...
What?
Do you remember in the movie when Nicholson and Christopher Lloyd are, like, outside and they're, like, near, like, a barn, and then for some reason the horse just starts pissing like crazy?
Well, that's what horses do.
And then...
But then Jack Nicholson says,
like,
wouldn't it be funny
It felt legit, but I don't know if it was a real horse peeing. But then he takes the bucket of pee and dumps it on top of Christopher Lloyd's head, and I'm like...
another scene that didn't make much sense. Like, what is Christopher Lloyd doing back there?
It didn't make sense, but I laughed, and that's, I guess,
yeah.
what the point of it is.
I don't...
Haha.
It felt like they were rewriting the script as they were shooting and then didn't bother to have it make sense at the end.
Well, they had 4 writers already, and then Nicholson's like, I'll take a pass at it, too. Just don't give me credit for it.
Nicholson, did you? I hope you didn't, because this script is bad. It's not. This feels like a first draft of a script, or a script that was aggressively written, and then somebody at the end just needs to be like, we got to straighten this out.
It doesn't gel at all.
No!
It's really...
It's a bunch of different scripts, a bunch of different drafts. They Frankenstein together, and we got stuck with this. And Jack Nicholson, well-versed in film theory, film craft, says, I don't need to fix this. This is fine. You know it's not, Jack.
Yeah, it's also funny, like, all of a sudden they're like, she decided to marry him so he could help her with her gold mine. Like...
I don't even know where to begin.
The gold mine stuff, like, that happens like 45 minutes into the movie, and I'm just like, is this what we're building to?
Yeah,
Not really.
They're trying to get it before the railroad. They're going to go to Philadelphia. The Philadelphia stuff didn't really matter because she just goes with him to Mexico. I don't know why they have to go to Mexico. Do you think there's going to be this bigger climax because, like, she's run off with all the gold and he's trying to win her heart, but, like, the gang and the deputy are, like, thinking that he's a criminal or trying to, like, pull one over on him. That kind of that itself resolved quickly. He just leaves. And then he goes to her and he's like, wait. And she's like, all right, I'm not mad anymore. And I go, well, why? I don't understand. Last time it took a literal near-death crisis for you to stop distrusting him. And now you're just like, yeah, you know what? I'm sorry, I overreacted. What?
I have a real hard question we need to ask ourselves right now.
What?
As we go through this series. Because I'm just realizing, did Jack want to direct more, and then he just couldn't find the right projects to go to? It feels like he wants to direct more.
I know it seems like it, which makes sense. He loves movies. Why wouldn't you love making movies? But I get that you wanted to do a more commercially friendly film because they're making you star in it, and it is hard to do both. But you read the script beforehand, presumably. I just have to assume you knew
Fingers
it
on
was
temple,
a bad
Patrick.
script, and you didn't want to make it better, or you didn't feel like you had time because you were gonna do the Stanley Kubrick thing.
Yeah,
It might have been better to have waited. I know you don't want to hear this, Jack, but it probably would have been better to wait the extra 3 years because you only get so many chances at the bat, even though you're an Academy Award-winning $1 million actor.
Hey. You asked George Clooney how many chances you get at the bat to direct.
Yeah, it's a good
He's
point.
only won one Academy Award.
Yeah, you got me there, Joe.
Who's the Sony League? Was it Amy Pascal? Was that?
Yeah, that was her, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's like emails I remember that George wrote to Amy. It was just like, this Monuments Men movie, I know it's not coming along really well, but if we just can try one more time.
We changed the marketing campaign and everything for Monuments Men. It's got a whole new genre now. We're ready to go.
It got 3 very differently toned trailers. One was like the Greatest Generation trailer. It was so fucking crazy. I took my mom to see that movie and we're like,
Yeah.
We like all of these actors.
Yeah.
Why doesn't this work? These are some of like our great, so many different generations of great actors.
Yeah.
And this is what is happening with this.
They say, what if we made a
movie
movie for nobody?
Oh, wow. That is the tagline. I'd stamp right on that.
Yeah, there's a lot
poster.
of really great movies that have a hard time getting made, but what if we made this thing for a surprising amount of money that nobody could possibly want to watch?
You know what? Fuck it. I'm looking up Monuments Men budget. I was so burned by that movie because I was still like, hey, you know what, George Clooney? I'll see every movie that he makes.
They even had to push back the release date.
Oh my god.
What?
$70 to $91 million. But the box office is kind of surprising.
Yeah, is it 90? Is it $100 million? $100 million film?
155.
Gross. Hollywood will learn nothing.
I'm going to tell you, though, that still probably didn't cover the budget because there's still a lot of shit they're not covering.
It's going to be done. You're splitting a lot of that with your movie theaters. I can't imagine the DVD sales were off the charts.
No. Kate Blanchett was in that, too. I forgot that she was in that.
Yeah, well, she was the woman.
She was the woman. Yeah, the one lone woman. He's got his buddy in there still, Grant Heslov. George's buddy.
Gotta keep him paid, Sandler style.
He's the Alan Covert to the operation.
I saw an article as part of the press tour for Magic Mike. Salma Hayek's like, they didn't want to cast me in comedy films. They said I couldn't do comedy films. To which I thought, Adam Sandler, head of the curve.
Yeah.
Adam Sandler will cast you in anything, Salma. Don't worry. Don't let Hollywood tell you what's going on. Sandler's got your back.
He got Nicole Kidman and Jennifer Aniston in one movie.
And they didn't even have to swap bodies. They were just in it.
No, not at all.
Well, now there is a boring body swap movie. Woohoo.
I'm sure Nicole could have done
They're like, oh no, my life is mildly different. It's still fine. It's okay. Don't need to switch back.
Yeah, I would like to see Nicole Kidman swap bodies with Melissa McCarthy.
There you go. Or what if Nicole Kidman swap bodies with Frankie Muniz?
Malcolm?
Now there you go.
The guy in the middle?
Uh-huh.
He drives stock car races now.
What?
He does that now. Yeah, he does racing.
Because he's a tiny person.
Probably. He's a little guy.
Little dude.
That's fine.
No judgment. Just makes sense.
Yeah, well, you're a tall guy, so there's a little judgment
I got a lot
for us littler guys.
of drag when I'm driving. Dangerous stuff.
So, going south. Are we still going south on this
Well, we
one?
can take a break because we got to go over this week's Young Rock.
My name is Kid Rock.
Oh, Young Rock.
Yep.
Hanging out with Young Rock.
We're on season 3, episode 10. The burden of an extended season is finally being shown here because we have no young rocks in this episode. Also, no Randall Park.
Also, it's only the 10th episode, and you're calling this an extended season?
Well, it's because I think it's going to be more than the usual. Well, the first one was like 11 episodes, and then the second one was like 13. So
Yeah.
this one, it
Those
seems
are
to be
normal.
probably a full-length season, considering when it starts, is my guess.
Yeah.
But there are no young rocks, but there are 3 young rock mentors. It's like a treehouse of horrors. We have 3 different stories about younger versions of Rock's mentors from the 60s. We have young Pat Patterson in San Francisco in 1966. We have
1966.
where I guess is he gay? Is this true, Joe?
Pat Patterson is a gay man.
Yeah.
He was one of the first out gay wrestlers, I believe.
That's what The Rock said. So it's Pat Patterson is hanging out with The Rock's granddad, Peter Maivia, which explains The Rock's original wrestling name. And they're in San Francisco, and they have a big wrestling match, and then The Rock's granddad invites him to dinner. He's like, bring your girlfriend. The Pat's like, what if she happened to be quite manly? He's like, no judgments. And then there were still no judgments when it was actually a dude. But then he has the idea, hey, this battle royale thing's sort of a mess. It's just like 30 dudes at a time. How do we focus the audience's attention? Yeah. What if he thinks boldly, just a couple guys at a time, and then people kind of come and go from there at predetermined times?
Yeah, the Royal Rumble.
That's what they guessed. That's what they said.
Just happened this past weekend.
He invented the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
Look at that. So that's it, though. That's the whole story. The story is The Rock's granddad goes to dinner and invents the Royal Rumble. There's no conflict that occurs.
Yeah.
There's no change of heart. It's just like,
just here's some wrestling history for you.
Here you go. Here's a little IMDb fact.
Thanks.
Then we get young Andre the Giant in Paris in 1964. And Andre the Giant goes into a bar and is a particularly tall and notable gentleman. And this guy, one-armed Jack, goes to him and says, I'm a wrestler, you should try wrestling. And Andre the Giant goes, no, I don't want to draw attention to myself. And one-armed Jack says, listen, I only got one arm. And then he takes off his arm. And he goes, that's my gimmick. I'm a guy who lost his arm, but my other arm has the strength of 3 arms. And Andre the Giant goes, okay. And then Jack goes, well, yes, you need to lean into your weird quirks as your wrestling persona, and everybody will love you. And then you know what? Andre the Giant does. And then you know what? Everybody does love him. The end. That's the whole story. The whole thing. It was like 4 minutes long, this segment.
This sucks. What happened?
This might be the worst. If you came to me and you're like, Patrick, you're going to get a Young Rock episode, but without any Young Rocks, you're just going to do like a different people. And I go, okay, that's kind of an interesting approach to your formula. You're changing it up. I didn't know I was going to get no actual content. I didn't realize the script was going to suffer horribly, as you seem to be running out of. Nobody's in there with the Dan Harmon story circle being like, hey, how do we make this an episode? They're just like, here's some facts.
How do we make this one of those old school TV episodes, where people have something they have to resolve together or sometimes.
Yeah, then the last
apart.
segment, we get a young Peter Maivia, The Rock's granddad, to remind you all. Yes. And in this one, he is on the set of You Only Live Twice, the James Bond film.
Oh, yeah.
With Sean Connery, and there's a bit of a story here. He is doing an action scene with Sean Connery, and the action doesn't really make a lot of sense, and it's not very interesting. So then the Rock's granddad goes to the director and is like, hey, I have an idea. And the director's like, don't talk to me, and he walks away. But apparently, a very nice Sean Connery overheard and said, hey, what is your idea? I'd like to hear. And then he says it, and then they do it, and the director likes it so much because he thought Sean Connery did it on his own. The director then has to admit that he likes it to The Rock's granddad and says, you can coordinate more stunts, and he becomes a stunt coordinator or something on the film. Well, anyway, that happens. And then, they're outside, he and Sean Connery. I bet in real life they were having a smoke. but in, this NBC version, they're just hanging out there for whatever reason.
They were definitely smoking.
And Sean Connery's like, oh, man, I'm just so bored of only playing James Bond. I want to take on other roles. Like, what if I were a U.S. submarine general? Or...
Zardoz.
Yeah. What if I were an Alcatraz escapee? And then the rock star's like, yeah, maybe what if you were like a league of gentlemen that were extraordinary? That's
that
all
would
these...
end his career.
Yeah.
What if you were the guy in the Al Capone story who did all the things? The guy with the bat? No.
Yeah. Yep, I know. So a lot of lampshade dimming the thing's doing. But anyway, the point is the Rock's dad encourages him, like, you don't have to just be James Bond. I bet you can do many roles. And then Sean Connery's like, would you want to do James Bond again? And he goes, yeah, it just sucks though that I'm always the bad guy. People like me, he says loudly to the camera. People like me. And Sean goes, well, fuck them. Do what you gotta do. And this inspires the Rock's granddad to start his own wrestling organization. The one his grandmother's running now. Now, quote unquote.
Talking to Sean Connery made him start his own.
Sean Connery inspired him to start the Polynesian Wrestling League. It's not that, but it's something like that.
Yeah.
Pacific Polynesian League. But this allowed, non-white people to be the good guys in wrestling storylines for the first time, and that inspired The Rock.
And then the Rock's great granddad said, hey, are you ever going to play Bond again? It would just be nice to see you one more time. And he's like, never say never again.
Well, The Rock's voiceover does admit that Sean Connery would go back to playing James Bond, but, he'd have to do other things too, like be a poet assassin. So, there you go. Meanwhile, how does this relate to the main storyline? Well, I know you're worried, Joe, because last episode, the Prime Minister said there was no way a coffee deal was going to happen. Wasn't going to happen.
Doesn't happen.
Well, now the president's calling The Rock, the guy The Rock lost to, and he's sounding like a jerk, and The Rock is loudly winking to the camera. How did I lose to this jamoke? I was like, wow, Rock, how big of you to not win the president in your own show when you have the power to do that? I thought maybe they were doing it for story reasons, so there would be more drama. Obviously, the show doesn't care about drama, so...
They're not TNT.
No. And, now The Rock just gets to look like more important and cool than the president, so... Fine. And then the prime minister of this country feels really bad that she did that to The Rock. She's like, Rock, I'm sorry I threw you under the bus there. She's almost like groveling to him for his forgiveness. Now, The Rock's looking very powerful in this episode where he has no power and is affecting no events around him. So she takes him to her dad's coffee shop, and that is why she doesn't want to give out the coffee to America. She's like, we can't. My dad was the vanguard of coffee in the nation. Which apparently is an official role in the made-up nation.
This is absurd.
Yeah. So they're there drinking the coffee, and The Rock goes, you know what? I have some mentors, too, that inspired me, and now that's how we go. And then it ends, and still, the trade deal is dead. But don't worry, because the Prime Minister officially named the mountain. It is no longer Billy Will You Go to the Prom With Me Mountain. It is now called Mount Rock.
Fucking kill me.
Yeah.
This is so absurd because it's the whole thing about coffee. When The Rock sells tequila, why couldn't it just be a tequila thing? It would make more sense branding-wise.
I just don't think NBC wants the main crux that the world doesn't have enough tequila.
You know what?
And The Rock is a good guy for saving the world from tequila. Lack of tequila.
Lack of tequila.
All right, let's do a quick Watergate watch.
Watergate, Watergate, oh, Watergate.
Watch.
Watergate watch.
Yeah, I'm in the 600s now of the Watergate book from
Crazy.
Friend of the cast, Mr. Paul Giramini. I'm on chapter 50. Chapter 50. I'm in the home stretch. It's the people versus, the United States versus Richard Nixon Supreme Court case coming up. He's not going to give in the tapes. He's going to have to resign. And I tell you, Richard Nixon, I don't know how to describe it. It's like kind of crazy. It's sort of good we don't put people up on a pedestal anymore. Like, I'm kind of glad we're always dogging on the president, whoever it is.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because it really is just like regular people in the government. Like, it's a bunch of people who barely know what's going on, running the whole thing. The whole thing is on this house of cards. And that time the ship, the whole house just kind of got knocked over. But at any moment, this could happen. What I also found refreshing in the 70s was how infrequently people wanted to impeach presidents.
Yeah.
Not that presidents shouldn't be impeached, but it feels like in the year in the more recent years, we just will impeach anybody for any reason because they're the opposite party.
They don't know how to open a cell phone.
Yeah, anything that comes up, any thin stretch. But back in the 70s, like, whoa, we don't have enough evidence. Whoa, we don't have enough. Even though the whole country's not liking Richard Nixon and everybody thinks he did something, Congress is still afraid. Whoa, we don't want to do this because it could blow up enough. We don't know. This could all be not true. Meanwhile, in recent years, we're just like, fuck it. True enough, probably. Like, the truth doesn't even matter anymore. What we've come to realize in recent years is that impeachment is not a legal proceeding. There's nothing actually legal about it. It is just a political tool. And it's true, but we're sort of leaning into it too much. So it was refreshing that everybody's being extra cautious to make sure they do it just right. And you know what? They were so cautious and they were so well planned when they were ready to impeach, they didn't even get to. Richard Nixon's like, yeah, all right, you caught me. I'm out. Yeah, I'm not getting this one past you guys. You certainly put in the effort. I'm going to go on my own accord. Done.
Good. Get out of there.
I'm also annoyed. What do you get told about Gerald Ford?
What have I been told about Gerald Ford?
Yeah, at elementary school, here's what I was told. Why are you laughing, Joe?
In elementary school, so that was like over 20-something years ago now, and you're like, what do you remember about Gerald Ford? I don't remember what they told me about Gerald Ford.
Here's what I was told about Gerald Ford. They said, Richard Nixon did Watergate. It was so bad Richard Nixon and his vice president had to resign, and because Gerald Ford was Speaker of the House, he became president, and that's the order of succession. Wrong. Yet again, elementary school teachers misinforming me, and I look like an idiot, a decade plus later. Because they didn't want to take the effing time to know what they were saying before. They could have just said, yeah, I don't really know. They could have said, yeah, I don't know what the USSR stands for. So I'm not going to tell you United Socialist something of Russia. Because that's not true. And I look like an idiot when they say it.
Just you.
I should have been suspicious that in 1996, 1997, our school map still had USSR on them. But I didn't know that
Patrick,
was weird at the time
6
either.
years old. Give yourself some credit.
No, here's what happens.
6.
Spiro Agnew.
Information highway wasn't at our fingertips yet.
Spiro Agnew is in his own tax bribery scandal. He's got tax evasion and bribery. It's a whole he's a big barrel of problems. So he resigns begrudgingly and eventually to make Richard Nixon look better. Ironically, Nixon might not get impeached if Spiro Agnew is the vice president. Because then Congress doesn't want Spiro Agnew to be regular president, They're like, shit, well, if we take him out of office, we're stuck with this idiot. So then Richard Nixon needs a new vice president because he's got no vice president. And so he picks Gerald Ford, the only person everybody likes because Gerald Ford has no ambition to be president. Because Gerald Ford is just some nobody congressman who's ready to retire next year. That's why he becomes president. Because he's vice president. He was never Speaker of the House. Because his party did not have the majority. And wouldn't have the majority for another 20, 30 years. And hadn't had the majority for decades prior. He was never Speaker of the House, America. Don't let the elementary school teachers lie to you. Don't let them.
Well, you've inspired me. I'm going to take my kid out of school right now and say, you're never going back there again,
just
these
make
losers.
sure your teachers know what to do. You know what, elementary school teachers, if you don't know something, just say you don't know. It's okay. Don't fill the students' heads with lies, because you're going to give them trouble later on.
Yeah, when they're reading this book, they're going to have an existential crisis.
No, my whole life, the teachers told me things. Then I go and say them later on. I say, oh, I thought cavemen invented the wheels. And they go, no, you idiot. Why? It's the Sumerians. I look dumb.
And my point has been proven.
They were adults at the time. I'm allowed to be dumb. They should have known better to not say stupid things.
I can be dumb until they have they've taught me these things. I need to be teached and taught.
All right, last looks on Goin South.
Well, first of all, we need to stand together and say we do have a problem with the American education system. No, I'm just Goin South. No, Jack said it. We read it. Jack said it. We read it. He wanted to make a picture before the decade had ended. And then you know what he does? He waits a decade plus to make his next movie.
Yeah, Jack Nicholson getting a little too antsy to get back in the director's seat, but I get it. I understand it. He picks a role that's perfectly fine for him. It is certainly one of the more Jack Nicholson-y roles to ever Jack Nicholson.
I love when he does his little dances.
Does his dance. It's got his styling. It is yet another role that if any other actor played him, we would hate this character, but we like Jack Nicholson enough, and Jack Nicholson brings enough of his charm to it where it works. So, great. But, he, in picking a role that was fine for him, he sure did. That wouldn't be hard for him, obviously, because it's so in his wheelhouse. He sure did pick a movie that was bad. Bad script. He directed it very capably, even better than adequately, but the script's just really bad, and you can't save it. It can't be saved unless you rewrite it. It's a bad script.
And you're very right to point out how well the beginning is shot. And how
and it actually also feels like, and I'm sure it wasn't shot in order, but it feels like the directing got a little lazier towards the end too. Like he's just given up. Like he worked really hard on the first 25 minutes, and he put a lot of effort into it, and then he just all right, let's just get this over with.
Yeah, if it was shot in sequential order,
that's an argument I'd buy. I almost wonder if I'm making.
By the time he pours the bucket of piss on Christopher Lloyd's head, that's when he's fully given up, and he's like, let's just get through this, guys.
We're just doing a piss joke here. You ready for this, Lloyd? I know you're not a regular on Taxi yet, but here you go.
Just wait 6 more years and you will be America's favorite old man.
Yeah.
Even though you're in your 40s.
Yeah.
30s or 40s.
Yeah, so unfortunate. All right, well, I'd like to thank our sponsors. Who are they? The Beijing hot air balloon tours, flying sky high, certainly up to no good up there.
Definitely up in the sky, not
up in the sky, just cruising around. You're very safe up there. Don't worry. Just take a look at the ground below you, as long as it's not in this hemisphere. I'd like to thank Glenn Van Rensselaer from on those audio boards, keeping the sound so slippery smooth. I'd like to thank my co-host Joe Vekeman for stopping by.
No, thank you.
And I am your host, Patrick Skeyhill. You may find my features, documentaries, short films, video essays, animations, behind-the-scenes footage, and so much more at QuixoticUnited.com and social media, presumably with a similar-sounding name. Thank you all for listening. Joe, say goodnight.
Good night.
You know what is a weird double feature?
What?
Women Talking and 80 for Brady.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
I haven't watched it yet.
That's okay. I don't tell you about it.
Okay.
But
I'll try to get to it.
It was fun to do them back to back. I'm like, yeah, go women.
There's a lot of women talking in both those movies, right?
I enjoyed Women Talking more than I had expected I would.
Nothing wrong with just women talking in a movie, though.
Yes. I want women to have no dialogue in any movie. But, it worked better. It was a more visual experience than I had expected. The score was very good.
Is it the lady who did Joker? She's got a very...
The lady who did Joker? There was one lady in Joker.
No, the lady who did the music for the Joker.
Oh. I don't know who did the music for Joker. It's the Icelandic lady.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one, yeah. It was good.
Yeah, let me get the
She
name
did
of
a
her.
different movie as well. Her
name is Hildur Gonditur.
Dotir. That's how you know it's someone's daughter.
Yeah, she's done a few.
What's the other movie she did for this year? There's another Academy Award movie she's in.
Oh, no big deal. Just Tar.
Yeah. There you go. A good movie, I hear.
Tar and Woman Talking back to back. Wow. Before that, she won for Joker.
Well, she's got to write a whole musical now, so.
Can I tell you something right now?
What?
I think I knew this already. The budget for Joker was 55 to 70 million. The box office for Joker was 1.7 billion. 1.07 billion.
It's making like Avatar money.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just a Joker movie. Does anything happen in that movie either?
Like he kills some people.
Yeah, at the end.
And then there's a big riot. I don't know where a lot of that money went to. I won't lie.
55 million to 70 million?
But they don't even know how much they spent. They're like, maybe.
I mean, it looks like they shot in New York, so.
They don't want to shoot in seedy Gary, Indiana.
Yeah, you know, De Niro's asking for 25 million up front.
Yeah. Yeah, you could be like, we don't need to invite comparison too much. I'll just cast somebody else. It's fine.
De Niro's like, I'll collect a paycheck for more than any of the money that I made in the 70s and the 80s.
He's tired now, Joe.
Yeah, that's okay. He can be tired.
He's tired. He doesn't want to work.
That's not true at all. He works constantly. All right, going south. Are you ready to go south?
Let me drink the water.
And then we'll go south.